Hello, everyone. I'll call the board meeting of Trinity Metro to order at 3:05, and the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like for Ben to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business, second order of business is citizen comments, and we have one card from Ashton Smith.
Hey, brother, how you doing? You my friend, we call you the Timer Man.
I'm the timer man.
You're the Timer Man.
Here we go.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Smith, and I'm a four-time gold medalist, author, and swimmer. This is my book, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream, right? That is the name of my book. But the other night, even though I have good accomplishments and all of that, the other night, several nights ago, I was actually left by VIA, which is not Trinity Metro's fault. And I told people I follow instructions, and my instructions at the Feast of Sharing was to get out of the street, to not cross the medium. You got to listen to the police. And I jumped in the VIA van, that's what I'll call it, the VIA van, jumped in that van, and I told the gentleman to make a U-turn where it is legal, not in the street, he didn't make a U-turn. He just kept going, and I ended up off of East Lancaster, which is, I'm trying to say this politically correct, it's not the most savory side of town to be dropped off. I did ask him to either A, I would pay him direct cash, B, take me to the bank. That way I can swipe my card. I'm in the bank. Now I have a car there within, 3 minutes. He did none of that. And those things put people at risk because, one, I was out there by myself around people that I'll just say looked wobbly at the time. And the only saving grace was the gentleman at the store who ended up locking his door so that the guy knocking on the window wouldn't mess with me that night. So I'm grateful for the guy at the store who essentially was going to look out for me. He didn't know me from a can of paint, but he saw me come in there with a bunch of stuff from the Feast of Sharing. So he was like, you know steal. That's how he talked at the store. And I said, well, I wrote on a piece of paper, I'm not here to take anything from you. I couldn't shout, hey, I have money, I can buy whatever I want in here. I just wrote on a sheet of paper. He ended up locking the door. He said, me look out for you. So that was nothing but God. And I just tell people, I'm grateful for Trinity Metro. I'm grateful for the woman who stayed on the phone that night. And she said, I'm not going to get off the phone with you until you get an Uber home. I had an Uber there within 3 minutes. And those things do cost money, and that's fine, but I made it home. And so I just want y'all to say I'm thankful for Trinity Metro stepping up and understanding the rules and knowing that as soon as the dude said, get out of my car, as soon as he said, get out of the car, when they say my with Uber or Lyft, you don't have the right legally to be in their car. So I was thinking it was like Uber or Lyft. As he says, I'm gone. So I didn't know. I thought I had to get out of the car and literally find my way home. But based on the rules that I looked up while sitting over there, it's not that way. You actually can stay in the vehicle with Trinity Metro because you guys are the subsidiary or the governing body over VIA, which I read all that too. So I thank y'all for being the governing body or auspices over Trinity, over the VIA. I appreciate y'all looking out for me. Thank y'all for making it right. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate you coming down. A couple of comments. If it is our contractor, then it becomes us. So
Okay.
that is Trinity Metro, and it's our responsibility. We trust we made it right, and we regret the incident, and we'll do better in the future. So thank you for coming down.
Hey, and I thank y'all too for making it right. And this time I've got premium everything. I now have a way to get home. I said, hey, if it costs me $100, I now have a way to get home, and I got the means to do it. Y'all be blessed.
Appreciate you coming down.
Yourselves.
Thank you.
Gotta have this. I have money to get home. Y'all be blessed. Thank y'all.
I don't believe there are any further cards. The public hearing is closed. The next item of business is the approval of the October 21st board meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Under information items, Rich has the Trinity Metro agency update.
Okay, how's everyone doing?
Great, really good.
All right, so normally I would give this update in October. We rescheduled it to this month so all of you could hear how we're doing as an organization here at Trinity Metro. This is an update on our performance measures as the board approved them last year. I'd like to start by saying, these measures are goals that the board approved for my individual performance as the leader of the organization, but they're clearly, the accomplishment of these goals is clearly the reflection of a lot of teamwork and collaboration, and we have a lot to be proud of. Let me... Oh.
All right, we're increasing the IT budget.
All right. We've had these objectives for a number of time: increase support for transit, educate the community about the benefits of Trinity Metro services, provide an outstanding customer experience, and maintain a positive organizational culture. These are fairly easy to understand, but not necessarily easy to accomplish. You've heard us talk a lot about, matter of fact, this afternoon we talked about the growth of this organization, new directions. In the last year, we've completed an economic impact study, a robust deep dive into voter attitudes and customer attitudes and opinions about Trinity Metro. We are wrapping up the Mayor's Urban Rail Committee. The results of that effort are forthcoming in the next month. And then early next year, we'll be rolling out our new strategic action plan. Done a lot of work this year around vision, mission, and values. Very excited by how vision, mission, and values can help an organization realign itself. And we are all about being the preferred choice for simple, safe, and innovative mobility services. I think that's really easy to understand. I love the word innovative in there because we are about trying new things and delivering services the best way possible for the customer. And sometimes that means a bike, sometimes that means a sedan, an on-demand vehicle, and sometimes it means a bus or a train. And we are really, right team here, leadership team, we're really proud of this. Connecting people to life. I got to tell you, you all know this, when we talk about mission statements, a lot of times it sounds like they've been written by a committee. Mm-hmm. This, not so much, right? Easy to remember. That's the goal, and this ties in with our vision to be simple in how we communicate. And then, with the values that we believe in, we've talked about this before, really innovation, safety, reliability, sustainability, fairness, and integrity. All really the way we view ourselves and the way others can expect us to behave. Okay, let's run through the goals. So last year, employee engagement, we were doing our best to, what we heard from employees over the last few years is that we needed to do a better job of engaging and communicating. And so we've really pulled out all the stops organizationally to do that. Throughout the year, there are countless times that one or more of us are over at HRP or off on, on an odd shift overnight or on a weekend. That includes events like the President's Pancake Breakfast. We've done periodic surveying of our workforce. The results are disappointing. Disappointing to me personally. I think there's a key challenge in any organization that's 24/7 in nature, where no matter how clear you think you are in sort of speaking with one voice and going above and beyond to reach out to people. You're always going to miss individuals. And for better or for worse, we fell short of this goal. The numbers that you see on the screen there are benchmarking. What we've done is we're doing the same questions annually. It's a tracking survey. Are we improving? And so you'll see the numbers on the left are the numbers from this year. So for example, building trust and confidence in leadership, 48% this year versus 56%. Strengthening communication channels, the goal was 46.8, this year was 38.2. Maximizing employee enablement, goal was 57, this year 51.7. So we unfortunately are going to redouble our efforts in this area. One of the strategies that we're going to use is creating an employee-led task force, and we're going to ask the employees to help us figure this out, right? So instead of leadership deciding maybe what employees want to hear or how they want to be engaged with, we're going to let the team tell us. So more to come on that. Ridership, really happy with this result. Ridership has been on a very steep curve, upward trajectory. We've added now 1 million rides a year over the last 3 years. This was a huge team effort. Ridership is a reflection of lots of things, and not one thing. It starts with great service, reliable buses, trains, and other services, clean vehicles, courteous frontline staff, and great marketing and advertising. Just to name a few. There's more to it, but really proud of this result. That was hard earned, and we just made goal by 34,000 rides. New partnerships. We are working very hard to bring new members and new partners into the fold here, and that starts with the leadership team reaching out and others in the organization and building relationships. Happy to report this year we've got 2 new members on the Fort Worth Bike Sharing Program, which is now Trinity Metro Bikes, UNT Health Science Center, and TCU. TCU increased their partnership by $26,000, so happy to report we met this goal. As we build support for Trinity Metro over the long term, it's about broad, deep grassroots support. And so this year we held 12 public engagement meetings. Chad Edwards and his team, also Melissa Chrisman and her team worked very closely together to put these events together. I attended several of them. Just about every one of our leadership members attended one or more of them, and they were really well attended, extraordinarily well attended. And so when you have public meetings, often you might get a couple of one or two people, 5 people coming out. We had routinely 50 or 60 people coming to these events. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Again, team effort. And then in the safety category, much to like about this. Again, safety is like employee engagement in the sense that it's the accumulation of lots of little things that add up to big things. And pleased to report here on safety that we have met goal. This is a kind of extraordinary. A decrease of this level is remarkable. In goal setting, one of the things we watch for is to be as aggressive as we can be, but also to be realistic about what is possible. And this far exceeded our expectations. We're going to continue to focus on safety. Safety ultimately is not just about the numbers, but it's about the attitudes and the culture in the organization. Any questions before I go to 2025? Okay, so year ending, this is on a fiscal year basis. Our first goal, I mentioned, we're going to implement, we're going to implement the task force, but around employee engagement, we're also going to focus on that first level supervision. And why is that? When we think about the interactions with leadership here, it's no matter the level of the senior leadership effort, it's not how most people are going to go about their day, right? They're not going to encounter senior leadership on a daily basis, but they do interact with the first level supervision. So we're going to focus there. What we've heard some feedback on is we've got a lot of talented supervisors. but we're not always maybe engaging in the same manner with the frontline team. So we're going to kind of true up that effort and make sure that they have the tools and the resources and the focus to have those daily conversations and check-ins with the frontline staff. There's a lot to this program, but the goal during this coming year is to have a robust, very fully developed supervisor level engagement plan. Ridership is growing. We had 3 years at 1 million rides. We are starting, in my estimation, starting to see, instead of a 15 to 20% compounded growth rate, something a little less than that. So we're setting a goal here of 7.2%. That would represent a year-end number of 8.3 million trips. Now, this number would be among the highest ridership years in the last decade. So if we hit this number, we will exceed, certainly back through 2018, the best year in a long time. Represents a continuation of a lot of the things. If we hit this number, it'll be the result of further enhancements to bus service, frequencies, TexRail, 30-minute headways, and again, just great, clean, reliable service. Orange Line has been a phenomenal success. The success is, I think, a lot to do with repositioning service and how people see the service, right? So we have bus routes that today are very productive, but we sort of have a limited addressable market there based on people who are accustomed to using transit. What we saw with Orange Line is we repositioned the service as something that was less intimidating for occasional users. And so we're going to do the same thing with Molly, the trolley, launching the Blue Line, all the same treatment that we have on the Orange Line. And that will be launched sometime in the first half of 2025. Our transit campaign, we have to plan for the long term. These goals were set a couple of months ago, so you all know that we've hired a chief strategy officer. But beyond that, we are engaging on the 5-year strategic plan. This sets the stage for increased funding for this agency. What we really need here is a path to a top 10 transit system for a top 10 city. I've said that many times. We have, without diving too deep into the numbers, we have a high-performing system. We're proud of the services that we deliver, but we are not even breaking the top 100 nationally in terms of per capita investment, ridership per capita. You pick the benchmark on a national level. And so if we're a top 10 city and want to be performing at a top 10 level as a city, we really need to grow the resources available to this organization. And the final goal is, it's around safety. It's a close proxy to safety, which is security. We've heard loud and clear from our workforce that there are times when they don't feel safe. And we have done quite a bit to work on that. But we also need to zero in the way law enforcement does on the hotspots. And so we're going to be focusing in the coming year, especially on the Dr. Dennis Duncan's Transfer Center, Reed Lanham, who's in charge of our security program. We've been reaching out to the Fort Worth Police Department, Chief Noakes, and beginning a sort of a strategic focus on how we address safety on the transit front line. And I'm pleased to report that some of those efforts are already paying dividends. I'm sure Reed would be happy to talk more about it, but I can tell you that we've already increased our police presence over at that location. We're more visible. The police department is more visible there. And the goal is to measure our progress through metrics, right? So it's perceptions. Perception is reality at this point for our frontline team, but also to show through data that we're making an improvement in how people feel about safety and the actual safety results. So with that, those are the high-level goals for this organization, subject to your comments and approval. Any questions?
I guess we're kind of cheating on number 4, but
What with the chief strategy?
yeah. Do we not need to make up another?
We can do well on that. Well, let me say something. I know it was a little bit of a rhetorical point, but the goals that we've established as a team here over the last few years are always done with the attitude that we're all in on these initiatives. These are not check the box exercises. So what you'll see when we get together in executive session is sort of we'll have that conversation about meeting goals. Everything we do here is about doing it with being intentional, actually getting to the result, right? So it's not just for example, a 5-year strategic plan, one could argue we could issue a memo and call it our 5-year plan. But as you saw in our workshop, that's not how we approach things. So, and I know you didn't intend it that way, but I felt like yeah. I was tongue in cheek.
I really appreciate going through this in our meeting, just for transparency for the folks that we serve, and helping just continuing to build that trust throughout our community. So, and addressing our opportunities for growth, and then our wins as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Rich, can I ask a question about the ridership slide? Was that it? Maybe it wasn't the ridership slide, where you said that we are pretty much pushing upon I think it was the ridership slide. So we're on track for roughly 8.3 million. What is our systems, like, without any changes, without any new vehicles, what is our system's current capacity?
That's a great question. Chad, would you know that offhand? So let's let me answer it this way. So we have in this business lots of fixed costs, and we have lots of underutilized capacity. Mm-hmm. I guess we'd have to dimension that a little bit. One way to look at that would be available seats on the system by hour or by day of week, or right. We could do that. I could maybe answer the question this way. There are very few services, very few routes, and very few vehicles where we couldn't accommodate more people. So our ability to grow ridership really doesn't necessarily require new vehicles, new drivers, new services, right? Mm-hmm. What I would say, though, is I do think repositioning and realigning services is probably something we're going to be looking hard at next year. Mm-hmm. There are lots of routes, There are handfuls of routes where I don't think we're meeting what I would call a great benchmark, right? We're probably better if we could reposition those vehicles and those resources to higher performing areas. There's always this tension, right, between coverage and focusing on your winners. I do think that's a question for this board in the long run about how to allocate those finite resources. Go.
And I think maybe the question I'm really getting at is, you made the statement that that 8.3 million trips would represent the highest ridership in over a decade, or in a decade. And is that, like, what's the target, right? Like, because at some point, like you said, so we've reached a peak, and then at some point we're going to start to either stabilize or see a decline. So when we think about like long-term projections, like what's reasonable to expect over the next few years relative to where we are now and where we have been in the past decade? Does that question make sense?
I love that question, and I've thought a lot about it. And so a city of our size in an area with our kind of development pattern, aspirationally, I would like to get to 20 trips per capita, which ultimately would be about 20 million rides.
Right.
Now, Austin moves 20 to 25 million people a year on their system. Different, right? Different downtown, different sort of makeup, and the density is much greater. But even if you look at places like Kansas City, Oklahoma City, we should aspire to be somewhere in the 10 to 15 million trips a year range. It will take some time to get there, but if you look at the trend and how we're doing each year and we're providing reliable service, a quality product, I think we can expect to continue to grow. I think within a couple of years, we will be at 10 million.
Great.
And so 10 to 15, 10 getting to 15 is probably very doable over the next 5 to 7 years.
I think a lot of it might have to do with, we all talk about funding, and we got some routes that we probably need to have more frequency on, and that's very expensive. It's just moving to TexRail to 30 minutes, it's very expensive. And some of the other routes, if we could move to 12 or 15 minutes, it would be productive, but it's very expensive. So if we can get that funding for more frequency along routes that we already have, I think that would make a huge difference. But right now, and you'll hear that, we're limiting ourselves. Well, not limiting, we're limited by our budget. So I think right now we would add frequency to 4 or 5 other routes if we had the money. Let's just see if we can find it.
So I would love, Chad's got the magic box of analytics. Can we see how we relate? We've seen ridership charts forever, but you said a very interesting thing that makes my brain go, that's a technical term. Can we see a analytics of our ridership as a per capita, as a ratio to our population comparatively to other cities? Because I think that will be pretty telling as well in how we're doing comparatively. Yes, we would be happy. We would be happy to provide that. As a matter of fact, I think we already have that produced somewhere, right, Chad? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's a good
That's
question.
awesome. The other thing I want to, because this is my side of town, talk about Goal 5 for a second with the transit worker assault prevention strategy. Obviously, a huge initiative, and I've gone and hung out at Dennis Duncan and observed and things. I kind of would like to, and I don't know if it's our envoys or if it's a dedicated team, but I'd like to talk to our customer base there about what they feel regarding safety as well, because I feel like there's going to be some cumulative benefits for safety for everybody, but similar to your point of having frontline people, our frontline team chime in on things that we can do differently and better with communication. I think our user base at that side of, that specific transfer center and Route 89 might turn us on to some things that we're not seeing as a potential visual or perceived safety risk. Safety, a big chunk of it is just perception. If we're not comfortable with the lighting, the visibility, the amount of people around, that's where it really can lead to misgivings. And so I feel like maybe we need to talk to our customers there a little bit as well, somehow.
Yeah, in the same way, I appreciate the comment. In the same way, we need to have employees involved in the internal communication, for example. Yeah, I think customers need, absolutely. And perception is reality, right? Even if the metrics show it's safe, if you don't feel safe,
Right.
right.
100%.
Yep.
Other comments? This is an action item, set our goals for 2025.
Yeah, so in that sense, I think that is an executive session discussion because it's related to the incentive program.
Then we'll come back after
Yes.
executive session.
That sounds good. I don't know, who's next?
I don't know that we need a presentation, but you'll notice in the packet that we've got the Board of Directors meeting schedule. It is flexible, but this gives you an idea of, and you may want to put it on your calendars. Anybody need to speak to that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, is this on? I'll just note that there are a couple of Monday holidays that necessitated moving the board meeting to a Tuesday. So I would just call everyone's attention to that. If that, the two members here, Board Member Nettles and Board Member Crane, are potentially, may have a conflict with that with City Council. So if we need to adjust, we certainly can do that.
Could we also get a meeting request sent out for these dates, just so we automatically have them on our calendars?
Yes.
Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, yes, oh, yes. So there's a national, every year, the American Public Transportation Association has their annual meeting, and it moves around quite a bit. It just happens that this coming year, it's going to fall on what would be a board day. And since a number of us attend that, including myself, we're proposing to move that meeting to the 22nd. Thank you, Christine.
Any other comments about the meetings for 2025?
So before we publish the calendar, we will make sure we've conferred with the other board members not present. Okay?
Well, commuter rail, Reed.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Reed Lanham, Vice President of Rail here at Trinity Metro, and it is my pleasure to bring you the commuter rail report for the month of October today. If you would please turn to page 29 in your packets. We have the Tex Rail ridership and OTP presentation. We ended FY24 on a high note, and we started FY25 on a high note as well. We were up almost 20%, 19.65% on Tex Rail and ridership. We broke the 70,000 mark in October for the first time ever, which is great news. And then our on-time performance, again, was very strong. We came in just under 98% at 97.8%, but that was due to some service disruptions with our partner shortline railroads. If you want to ask any questions about that, I can give you more information on that later. One of the big things we did on Tex Rail just recently, and this is a November update, and we're tracking things very closely now and looking forward to the November update next month, is on November 3rd, we went to 30-minute headways. Jeff, I heard you mention earlier that going to 30-minute headways is a very expensive proposition on Tex Rail, and I agree with that if we were to do that throughout the service day. One of the things we have done seriously in the rail department here is we're looking at what we have available to us with some of these funding issues, right? And we're trying to make the best out of what we've got. This 30-minute headway change, which from about 4 a.m. in the morning to almost 8 p.m. at night gives us a consistent 30-minute schedule, was done relatively cheap, right? What this has also done is opened up that 3-hour window at night for maintenance where we don't have any trains out on the track. This has allowed, in the past 2 weeks, our crews have been able to do deep cleaning, right? We've been able to get more inspections done, make more repairs to the equipment and the infrastructure during those 2 weeks. So we go back and we talk about sustainability as one of our keys. And this is having a direct impact already on the sustainability of Tex Rail as a whole for the future. One of the things that we're taking in partnership with Herzog, this increase that we do have to pay for the additional service is being put back into the service in the form of 2 new mechanics that are going to be hired soon, and we'll be able to help continue to maintain our fleet at the high standards that we've set. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. One of the things you'll see in our KPI board action later, our key performance indicators, is we ended 2024 on the highest daily average ridership we've ever had. It's a little early to report on this, but I can tell you after 2 weeks of this new schedule, we've already increased that average daily ridership. So we hope we continue to see that trend as more people catch on to the new schedule. On page 30, we've got TRE. The TRE had a strong October as well. This is our busy time of the year on TRE with State Fair. We came in almost identical to last year's ridership at 143.2 thousand. 143,000.2, sorry. Our on-time performance was excellent at 98%. And just a little transparency here, we have experienced quite a few mechanical issues recently on the TRE, and I can't speak highly enough about our mechanical department on TRE and the team we have there. They have worked diligently to continue to provide service at a reliable pace with these mechanical challenges. So we are sorely looking forward to the day we get those new engines in with Siemens, and the team's working hard to get those here, but they're still a couple years out. And that's it as far as the OTP and ridership updates. If you have any questions, I'd love to take them. All right. If you would, turn to page 33 and 34 in your packets. I want to give a quick update on our long-term parking efforts. This is our second year offering long-term parking, and I like to periodically give you guys an update on how that's doing. This year we did, based on the trends from last year, we increased the available spots at TNP and Smithfield, and by the very simple bar graph that we have up here, you can see why we did that. Smithfield and TNP continue to be our two strongest stations for long-term parking. That has been the trend from the beginning and continues, but we've seen quite a bit of an increase over last year as well. These are just the past 2 months to give you a quick snapshot of what we see during the year. If you would go to page 34. This is the year to date. We've had over 1,300 transactions at TNP and over 1,000 at Smithfield. So we're very encouraged by that. That's a big deal. One of the most used suggestions by the public when we first started TexRail was about long-term parking and why we don't offer it or when will we offer it. So I'm very pleased that we are able to offer this service. And as you can see, it's very widely used. And with that, I will conclude my remarks unless you have any questions.
Pretty quiet. Reed, thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne, for operations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, good afternoon. And Reed, as a customer of yours, I'd like to give you my appreciation for when I got the plane last night. I was able to just walk right to the train, sit down for 10 minutes, and get back home downtown. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
All right. If you turn to page 36 of your packet, I guess I need to do this. You'll see the KPIs. I'm just going through them real quickly for you. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on them. They're separated by Trinity Metro bus, paratransit, in-house paratransit, contracted services. You could see the goal is 9,000 for miles between road calls. And we didn't quite meet that goal, but I have seen positive signs, just so you all know. When I come in every morning, I get a down list, and I get to see how many buses are left in the spare. Generally speaking, several months ago, I'd never have any spare buses. Today, I could see anywhere from 6 to 16 spare buses, which means the work's getting done. It's getting much more reliable. I think positive things will happen as we continue down this path that we're working on maintenance. I am going to come back to you and give you a presentation of what we're doing to improve that. Preventable collisions, really both of these are important numbers here, one being all collisions, which is preventable collisions, measured by 100,000 miles, same thing with safety events. They're the major collisions where definitely cost more money because you're damaging other people's vehicles, whatnot. Those results were driven by our ECHO partner who does the transportation up at DFW. They had a collision, very low miles, which drives the frequency to what you see. So if you took that out, we'd be making our goals, but you can't take it out because you want to. It's just part of the measurement for safeties. They're doing good. In other words, the total Trinity Metro in-house services are performing as we expect and to goal. But what's important here is bus on-time performance. If you remember, last month you approved the goals, and we reduced it to 7 minutes. And we are right on the cusp of meeting that number. We're at 88.8% on time. The goal was 89%, so I'm pleased. I think we'll see continued improvement there. And next most important thing, you can see our ridership is at 447,000 rides for the month. That's 17% higher than last year. So very pleased with those numbers as well. I'm going to go to the next page, if I can figure this out. And I guess I can't. Which one should I hit? The down? Yes. I was hitting the up. We need more IT. All right. All right, there, you'll do it for me. Thank you. I need the train guy to help me. All right, just to go real quickly on the on-demand paratransit, the in-house, we didn't get any numbers before the report, so we'll just skip that. But on-demand, we're doing well with regards to improvements as well here. The goal is 11,000. That was assuming that we were going to have all our 25 new buses in there. We did not, but we are integrating the new fleet, and we are seeing improvement in miles between road calls. I expect that'll just keep getting better because we have the new fleet in. Preventable collisions, again, we made that goal, so all goods there, and had 0 major collisions, and again, something to be proud of. Our on-demand paratransit in-house on-time performance was right at about 80%. Don't forget, this is the month that we just started. I'm going to give you the results this past week. 96%, 97%, 93%, 90%, 93%. So great improvements from a launch of a brand new service with new operators and operators not used to the software that we have in the vehicles. Their learning curve was very short in the terms of transitions. I've gone through this. I don't want to say 1,000,000 times in my career, but quite a few times. And I'm very proud of what's gone on in our paratransit on-demand services. Their reaction to it has been great. We've had some of our in-house operators tell us they didn't like it at first. I was over the operation the other day, just a couple days ago, and someone pulled me aside and said, I just want to tell you, I spoke too fast. The service is great. The software is great. So all things are good there, and I'll move off of that. I will not go through the paratransit on demand for the contracted services just because they didn't have any data yet. We'll have that for the next board meeting so you can see how they're doing as well. But they're performing well with regards to on-time performance. They're in the 90s, 91, 92, 94. So all good numbers, and so I'm very proud of them. Any questions on KPIs? Seeing none. We're going to have Jeff?
No questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Chad, are you going to talk about do we have some more information? Oh, okay.
Good afternoon. Chad Edwards, Executive Vice President of Planning. I have a very short report for you guys today. Oh, no yay? Okay. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Ben.
We'll try to fill your time.
First of all, thank you very much again. I want to just reiterate my appreciation for you guys participating in the workshop earlier today. It was very, very informative for us. Second of all, in your packet on page 40, you have the general planning consultant contract task orders. If there's any questions on those, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Seeing none, I'm done.
Okay. About the blue line, Melissa?
No, he was so quick, I wasn't ready.
And now I feel like I'm going to be put to the test to see if I'm the first person to be able to figure out this clicker. So good afternoon, Trinity Metro Board of Directors. I'm Melissa Chrisman, Vice President of Marketing and Communications. Just here to share a brief update on the blue line, probably just enough to tease. I was happy to see it was listed on some of the responses from the Board of Directors today. You've seen what we did with the orange line. and are now looking forward to the next steps. And then you also saw that it's part of our FY 2025 agency goals. So this is a very, very big project that we are committed to getting on the ground in 2025. I had to talk about it.
Other down.
You see I'm pressing down, right?
I thought it was Wayne.
Yeah, there we go.
I have a new thing to add to our executive goals for the year.
All right, so I'm just going to put this down. Okay, all right.
Wow.
So I think it's pretty undeniable what Orange Line has done for our ridership. You heard Rich talk earlier about it's innovative. There's also a level of simplicity to the service, right? You know, if you want to go to the stockyards, you get on the big orange bus that says stockyards all over it. So we think that's really contributed to the ridership that we are seeing on board. You can see the results in your packet and on the screens for the first 7 weeks. Wayne told me as we sat here today that to date, since we put service on the road on September 15th, we're actually up 41% compared to the same time span last year. So that's really just incredible. Next.
So I have a question. Was that week 7 after the free rides expired?
It was half and half.
Okay.
So still pretty good numbers.
Still really good number.
And Wayne, I think I saw over the weekend, so we're well into our fare charging period, and we had a 700-plus day, I believe, on Saturday, compared to 400 to 500 before.
Strong Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
Pretty good Sunday.
Yep.
Thank you. Wow, that's really good.
All right. So here is just a little glimpse. Like I said, I'm going to probably give you just enough today to tease you, but this is the color blue that we are using for the new blue line. So you heard this will be the retirement of Molly the Trolley. She has had a good, long life. We are going to retire her in favor for the new iteration of our Metro network called the Blue Line. So there you can kind of see it on board the buses. You want to go ahead? And then you can kind of see the route. So as you see, this mirrors the Molly the Trolley route. So if you think about this, what are we connecting, right? You've got the Orange Line already going down here. You're connecting to Tex Rail. You're connecting to TRE. You're connecting to all the downtown hotels. So really just adding on that next layer of making sure that we're providing the best experience possible for those that are visiting, living, working in our communities. So I guess just a kind of heads up on exactly where we're at. The reason why you're not seeing any exterior artwork today is because we are still in the throes of working with our community partners. So we have been for months now visiting with Visit Fort Worth, Downtown Fort Worth Inc., and other stakeholders to try to make sure we get the designs just right. I think that was a big part of the Orange Line, right, is that we worked with our community partners and we had their buy-in at launch. And so we want to make sure we're doing the same thing with the Blue Line. So I think we're so very close. We're almost there to having the full exterior designs done. I plan on being out in the community with Rich and fellow executive and senior leadership team members in December and January, meeting with the hotel GMs, meeting with the chambers, meeting with anybody who really wants to have a say in what we're doing with the downtown Blue Line. And I hope to come back to the board in January with a more full picture once we have the support of all the groups that we're working with. And you heard Rich say it, we're looking at a first half of the year 2025 launch, but rest assured we are hard at work at making this happen. And I'll answer any questions.
Will we have the e-ink update boards at the blue stops so that we can know when the next one is coming and things like that?
The real time, are you saying the real
time?
times?
Yeah.
I'm going to look at Chad.
It'd be really awesome, because standing outside of TMP this week, the Molly the Trolley one, I mean, Glenn walked all the way back, and I was like, no, I'll wait for the next one, but I didn't know when it was, and then y'all made me walk a lot of blocks.
It's called the View Ben.
Ben moment, right?
That's right, that's right.
It's our new wellness program now.
There you go.
That's what my wife's.
Isaac, did you have a question?
Yeah, so what's happening to the old green Molly the Trolleys? And if we're going colored, why didn't we just call this one the green line and then use green buses?
Sure, and I don't know if
sky blue's my favorite color, but
Specifically.
I'm just wondering are we going to be able to use these assets on other parts of our system And then I have a couple other ones. What are the anticipated headways on this? And it feels like we're gonna be able to utilize the orange line, the blue line, so we could end up with what? 5 to 7 minute headways in this
If not
in
less.
this route? I mean, that's amazing.
Yep.
And then how many blue line buses will be operating at a time on this?
Okay, I'm going to answer the ones I know I can, and then I'm going to probably look at Wayne for the other ones. So in regards to why we didn't keep them green and why we didn't keep with kind of a vintage trolley look, it's a pretty simple answer. Our partners told us they didn't want that. They saw what we were doing with the orange line. They wanted something modern. In fact, the keywords we keep hearing with our stakeholders are they want luxurious. They want that kind of modern, dynamic, upscale experience. And we love our trolleys. We love our vintage look of them. They just don't fit that mold. So we let them determine that. On the blue line, we're going to have 6 buses. And there is an action item later in the board meeting that Wayne is going to go over that will kind of explain a little bit more on that. But essentially, we're repurposing our dash buses. So there'll be electric bus service, battery electric bus service in downtown. I don't want to speak on behalf of Chad's planning department in regards to headways because I don't know if that has been fully determined yet, but I do know that they're looking at costs, and I'll leave it up to you if you want to say anything.
Between 10 and 15 minutes.
And so with that and the orange line, yes, you're looking at very condensed frequencies in the main business corridor downtown.
So Ben, do you want real-time information if it's every 5 minutes?
Absolutely. Because somebody coming out of the TNT station needs to know when the next bus is. This is going to be the intro to our city for the travelers taking TexRail in on Reed's very efficient trains. And so I wanted to walk out of that brand-new TNP station, look at the sign and say, the bus will be here in 5 minutes, I'll just hop it and take it around.
And I could say, I mean, the case for, building the digital signs at TNP, I think is worth looking at.
At the main point.
Our intermodal connection.
Yeah, to Isaac's point, maybe at the main intermodals where it's their first touch with our system is where I think it would be the most helpful to have something like that.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question for us of resources once more, because I think we all know you can walk one end of downtown to another in 15 minutes, right? You can walk from the convention center to the Worthington. Nope, right? So this route really does need to be, it's a question of how many, it's a question of resourcing this service. So we're talking about peak service being every 10,
Good.
Yeah. And you're right, combined 10 plus the orange line, that's a bus every 5 minutes.
And there's a little perception piece to this too. I mean, you feel like you're seeing the orange line downtown, although it's on 15-minute headways because it's so noticeable. Like, and I'm just speaking for me, but I've heard it from others. You feel like you're seeing that bus every 5 minutes. And so if we layer on the blue line, I think that's going to add to that quite significantly.
Are we going to do anything cool with the interior like y'all did on the orange?
We are going to do some cool stuff with the interior.
Give it a smirk look.
Blue carpet everywhere.
Remember, the keywords are luxurious.
Attention, order in the court. Any other questions of Melissa?
That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg, uplift us a little, would you please?
Yes, sir. I plan on it. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Greg Jordan. I'm the Chief Financial Officer. I am here to present the September financial report. This is essentially a preview of the audit report that you'll receive in the coming months, but felt it prudent to go ahead and go through this with you. I'm going to start this on page 47. So as of September of 2024, fiscal month 12, we'd received $173.8 million in revenues. During that same time period, we expended $143.5, thereby generating a positive $30.3 million to the bottom line. Sales tax is projected to end the year at $115.6. This is about $3.5 million below budget. If you recall, some months ago, I started to raise the flag with you all that sales tax was lagging. From that time point forward, we were anticipating to end up about $115.5. That seems to be where it's ended up at this point. On the expense side, we have total operating budget of $154.7 million, projecting $143.5 year end, with $8.8 million below budget on expenses. Going through the different business units, fixed route year-to-date was $42.9 million. By this time last year, we'd spent $42.1. Although over in salaries, projecting savings in the areas of purchase transportation, fuel, and vehicle supplies, yielding a positive year-end for fixed route to about $775,000. Access was trending above by 1.2. This was primarily in the personnel accounts, as well as the service, tires, tubes, and materials. The access budget is $11.8 million, and we're projecting total spend of $12.9. TRE year-to-date was $17 million. By this time last year, we'd spent about $14.8, projecting year-end expenditures of $17 million versus the total budget of $17.3, creating a favorable position of about $300,000. Tax rail year-to-date was $29.7. This time last year, we'd spent $28.5. And the total budget was $31.5. We now have savings in this business unit of $1.7 million. Bike share savings are projected to be about $85,000. This is very much in line with last year's performance. So we're projecting $734,000 versus $722,000 that we spent this time last year. General and administrative support areas, $40.1 million projected compared to the budget of $49.6, so favorable by $11.1 million. In summary, we're looking at a favorable budgetary position of $30.2 million, and from a cash basis, we have about $35 million in the pools. With that, I'll answer any questions y'all have.
So the $30 million, I want to call it overage, savings, is that something you would say would go into our reserve fund, or is that just sort of loosely out there?
It's kind of already there. We'd already anticipated having a budgetary surplus at the end of the year, so our cash position is just our cash position. Yes, sir.
And we don't have a reserve per se?
Not per se. I mean, the $35 million is what we have in cash in the pools. Yes, sir.
And Greg, you've said before internally what you'd like to see in terms of our reserve, should we at some point want to go to revenue financing?
Sure. Well, generally speaking, because we are sales tax based in nature, very elastic, very volatile during downturns in the economy, if we're going to go to, as Rich said, at some point go to the market to issue debt, which we'll be able to when our population increases, and we'll find ourselves with different options in the future. Ideally, we'd like to see a reserve in about the 50% range of total expenses. So, I mean, that's right now we're, I think, about $170 million in expenses, so that'd be roughly $85 million. Of course, that's going to take a period of time to get there. If you remember during the budget presentation, I went through some slides and showed our total income, including the income that we generate, and I'm going to call that fare box, as well as sales tax, and as well as the sales tax from the partner cities too. Well, that only covers about 90% of our operations, right? Mm-hmm. So the remainder is offset by federal grants, and then what comes in beyond that is what we have available to reinvest into capital and program expansions. So right now we generate about 90% of what we spend on operating. And as I always like to remind folks too, this organization was created 40 years ago with the sole intent of providing fixed route bus service. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've really expanded. We've got 2 rail lines, paratransit, mm-hmm. robust on-demand. So there's a complete suite of services that we're able to offer that we were not intended to offer during the construction of the, mm-hmm. Or during the formulation of the agency. So I always say that as a brag, because I think it's something that we should all be very proud of, that we're able to do so much with so little. Now, also building on some of the previous comments, funding is what we need to become a top-tier agency for a top-tier city. And so we do need to expand that. But I think as far as our finances are concerned relative to the operating side, we're doing a whole lot with very little. And so I think that's something to be very proud of.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if this is the right time. I mean, I don't know if you're the right person. I would imagine you are because it's a money question, but
If I can answer it, I am.
I'm just curious, if we do, what are we thinking in terms of, like, we've got a new administration coming in, there's some uncertainty about federal funds and grant, like, what are we thinking, because you just said about the remaining 10% is federal dollars, so should the funding landscape change any, what does that mean for our operations?
Well, so if I go back in time to sort of the budget time period when I highlighted that 90%, we've already begun the exercise of moving forward to say, okay, well, how do we get in parity with what we bring in? So we've already begun that exercise. What happens in DC happens in DC, but here locally, we're already running scenarios to try to see, okay, well, what's our availability to bring this in to we only eat what we kill from that standpoint. And so we're mindful of all these other things that are happening too, but in terms of controlling our own destiny, we're working to look at different ways that we can do that right now. Yes, ma'am.
If that happens, there are options that might not be palatable to the community, and we hope that doesn't happen.
Well, this is why I asked the question.
They're working on it. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
To Charlotte's point, if we could closely monitor that and get an update, if we see some changes drastically happening, just to get an update. I know we do.
It's a moving target.
It's a moving target, but if we can get updates, if we see that, is that possible that we can request that?
We have to know because we're not going to get funding.
Exactly.
I've got some recent articles that have come out talking about what to expect. If you look at Project 2025, as Richard's been looking at, he's memorized it. Look at the worst case scenarios.
Yes.
They're bleak, but on the other hand, there are so many programs that are baked in to transportation in Washington, D.C., that it'd be hard to change some of these scenarios.
Right, okay.
So it is a moving target,
Well,
and
that
it
way
is something we're focused on.
we could be prepared if we need to pivot on some of these things.
Oh, we don't want to have that discussion because it could involve paring back of some services.
Oh, don't want to have to do that. Yeah.
Well, we're prepared to talk about it.
Okay, all right.
A fair
Thank you.
statement, Rich?
Is that a fair
Yes,
statement?
nothing to add.
Okay. Thank you.
Tell us some good news, Rebecca. How's it going in Austin?
Awesome. It's fantastic, everyone.
Ever the optimist.
Good times. Half full, half full. And I've been directed, Christine, to not touch this, to just look at you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. I'm Rebecca Montgomery, your Director of Government Relations here at Trinity Metro. Starting on page 50 in your packet, we're going to present to you our 89th Texas Legislative Agenda. Next slide. Oh, okay, sorry, pardon me. Next page.
Page 52.
Well, okay, thank you. The legislative session convenes on Tuesday, January the 14th, 2025, lasting 140 days through Monday, June the 2nd. Each session, approximately 7,000 bills are filed, with a fraction passing, a little over 1,000. Last Tuesday, pre-filing of bills began, and as of this morning, over 1,600 have been filed. Session doesn't start for almost 2 more months. This will give us a good idea, though, of their areas of interest. So far, a lot of discussion has been targeting property taxes, abortion, and vouchers. Good times. I'm going to start with focusing on our state elections. The legislature consists of 31 senators and 150 representatives, and we have 32 new legislators coming in. That is a lot. That is a lot of people that have not been through this process before. The party affiliation breakdown, Senate having 20 Republicans and 11 Democrats, and the House with 88 Republicans and 62 Democrats. But we do have some new Tarrant County House members, which include District 91, David Lowe of North Richland Hills, replacing Stephanie Click, and District 97, John McQueenie of Fort Worth, replacing Craig Goldman. And Craig Goldman has moved on to the federal, to D.C., filling the role Kay Granger had before. But not to exclude other local electeds, our County Commissioners Court will also change. Some Precinct 1, served by Commissioner Roy Brooks for over 20 years, will now be represented by Roderick Miles, longtime executive to the Commissioner. Precinct 3, served by Commissioner Gary Fickus, will now be represented by former Texas House Representative Matt Krause. He previously represented a portion of North Tarrant County. Some additional items of interest. Our own Representative David Cook of Mansfield in Tarrant County is running for House Speaker. This will be decided the first day of legislative session, Tuesday, January the 14th. They both say, he and the current Speaker, they both say they have the votes. You need a simple majority, 76 votes, so we shall see. More to come. But it probably couldn't hurt if we did have someone from our area in that position. The next slide. We have our public policy priorities. These include promoting the success of Trinity Metro, improving public transit in Texas with all of our transit partners around the state, affirmatively engaging, advocating, and supporting and opposing what is best for our organization, all while being respectful, open, and ethical, most trustworthy. Our next slide, moving on to our legislative agenda items. We advocate for increasing our transit-oriented development. Thank you to our board members who have been assisting with this. Increasing and working towards private partnerships, and to drive and increase our ridership, as this allows us to grow our service and support our community members. And always working, as we've discussed earlier multiple times, working to identify funding opportunities. Our next slide. What we support: public transportation statewide, existing transportation authority, extending the TxDOT Mobility Fund beyond January 2027 as it is set to expire, innovative funding methods at state level to expand rail and transit options, and solutions that allow regional mobility authorities to fund and manage their systems, our systems, as we feel they're best for our riders' needs. Next slide. We oppose unnecessary restrictions on local decision-making, reduction or elimination of transit authority revenue streams, and attempts to prohibit local government from the ability to engage government relations professionals or joint associations to advocate on the behalf of our interests. We'll be working with our team in Austin closely on this. Next slide is our schedule of activities. Our board action today on this item, and upon your approval, we'll begin sharing this agenda with our local delegation. We'll be doing this from now, November through January, and then continuing to work through the legislative session, January through May. Please let me know of your availability for possible committee testimony opportunities. Would love to have you join me. Next slide. Are there any questions?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
No questions?
We'll move on to the board action item. Board action item B, number BA 2025-1. Trinity Metro staff recommends the Board of Directors adopt the proposed 89th Texas legislative agenda.
Motion to approve.
Several seconds.
Okay. Well, now we have questions. Okay. Who has the first question?
No, we all have
Motion, oh, I see. Motion is second. Any questions about the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Chairman and Board,
Rebecca.
for your time.
Okay. Lead us to the safety plan, Jeff.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chairman, board members, my name is Jeff Brown. I'm the Chief Safety Officer here at Trinity Metro. I'm here today with an action item to for your consideration to approve the annual update to our Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, otherwise known as the PTASP. This document starts on page 60 of your packet today. So back in 2020, the Federal Transportation Administration implemented regulations requiring operators of public transportation systems that receive federal funds to develop an agency safety plan. So the requirements of this plan include, but are not necessarily limited to, information on our safety management systems, risk reduction programs, as well as safety performance targets. Each year, transit agencies are also required to conduct a review of the safety plan to identify deficiencies when comparing the PTASP against real-world outcomes. The key changes for 2025 are updates to our mission statement, safety management system processes, safety performance targets, as well as formatting to match our company brand standards. And finally, the PTASP is required to be approved annually by both our Joint Labor and Management Safety Committee as well as the Board of Directors. So that's all the information I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time. I know it's a long read. If you would like some sleep tonight, please feel free.
No, it's
So I'll move on to the action item, board action item number 2025-12. Trinity Metro staff requests the Board of Directors to approve the 2025 Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan as updated.
Motion to approve?
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, Kelly.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Kelly Shields, the Chief Administrative Officer, and I'm going to go through the next two board action items. The first one is BA 2025-13, Premise Health Medical Clinic. As y'all know, we have a medical clinic on site, which has been very successful. Employees love it. It's been open since August of 2019. Since that time, we've had 6,755 visits, with an average of 446 unique members per year. So it's really done well. This action item is for the last extension, so it's for a year. And I'd like to recommend the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into a one-year contract with Premise Health to operate the Trinity Metro on-site clinic for an amount not to exceed $521,500.
Any questions? I got to say, you talk about innovation, and this clinic has been what I call innovation in sort of a soft way. It really is intended to be a convenience for our employees, but also it keeps them, their wellness at higher levels, so there's fewer absences. I think everyone wins with this, and I'm very happy that this is before us and it's been so successful.
I use it all the time, so it's great.
Have a motion?
I'll move for approval.
A motion?
Second.
We do that again? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
My next action item is for our regular annual health and wellness benefit program. We've got quite an extensive list of benefits that we offer. Right now, the medical and the stop loss brought up our benefits slightly. I think it was a little bit less than 20% increase. So the total cost for the employer was $10,352,876. We're not going to pass on that increase to our employees. We're going to go ahead and absorb that. So, we'll take on the brunt of the cost. We did add a couple of new benefits. We added legal ease. So we've got a legal plan now that will come on that's an employee cost. So I would like to recommend to the Trinity Metro Board of Directors to authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into a one-year contract with the carriers listed on the attached spreadsheet. It's based on employee headcount for a total estimated amount of $10,352,876.
Kelly, Mr. Chairman, I just would like to add to Kelly's remarks in that the decision to absorb the cost increase this year was decided after much deliberation. Next year is the end of the current 5-year contract with our collective bargaining agreement. So it's at that point where we want to bring to the table a conversation about wages and benefits. So we're gonna lock in for one more year and then reopen everything with our team members. We'll have a conversation about the total comp package.
Can I add just one note? Running into this in the corporate world, as a messaging standard, I would highly encourage that y'all find a nice way to tell the employees the story of y'all absorbing this.
Absorbed it, yes.
That's a lost thought, and from someone who's done the negotiating side of this health insurance, I don't think everybody truly understands how much per employee that industry has bounced, and so it's an unrealized benefit by a lot of people, and I think that should not be lost on our employees, that we believe in them, and all of our frontline teammen are doing that.
Christina Champion, our Director of HR, conducted some employee meetings to go over benefits, and that was one thing that she mentioned, that we are absorbing that cost.
Awesome.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Kelly.
Make sure you doesn't fall behind.
Well, good afternoon again. My name is Reed Lanham, Vice President Rail here at Trinity Metro. It is my pleasure to present to you an action item regarding the key performance indicators for TexRail and FY 2025. If you turn to page 116 in your packet, that's got a lot of verbiage on it, but the real magic is on page 117, where you see that pretty little table with some nice colors on it. This is something we're very proud of. It shows where we came in actual in FY 23, what we set our goals for FY 24, and our new goals for FY 25. I was always told you take the bad news first, just take it head on, deal with it. So we did not reach one of our goals, and unfortunately this past year we experienced our first ever injury on the TexRail property, which is it's pretty phenomenal that I'm up here 5 years later after operations telling you about our first injury ever on the property, considering we're in the railroad business, which is inherently dangerous. So our goal for FY 25 is to get that back down to 0 again. Now on to the good stuff. Our on-time performance exceeded that of FY 23 and our goal as well. We came in at 98.32% overall for the year on TexRail, which is, again, phenomenal and well above industry standards. We're keeping that goal at 98% since it is already so much above the industry standard. And then one that I want to highlight here, and it goes to our crews out at the shop, our mechanics and the team that we've got put together here and out there, the rail fleet reliability, or miles between service failure. As our fleet ages, even though it's 5 years old, they've got 6 years worth of run on them because of all the testing that was done. It gets harder and harder to maintain the fleet as it ages. We actually increased the miles between service failure last year by over 1,000 miles, which is a huge thing. It's a great accomplishment. It ties directly into the 98.32% and the reliability of our system. We're very proud of the fact that people know when to expect TexRail and it's going to be there, and we want to keep that going. So we've proposed a roughly 10% increase in that based off of our confidence level from last year. That's a lofty goal, but we think with the team we have in place, the new schedule, that's going to be very achievable. Our average daily ridership, again, the TexRail is becoming more and more popular, and the proof is right here on the paper. Our goal for last year was 2,055 daily riders. We came in at 2,142 riders per day, which obviously was a new record and something that we're very encouraged by. We've set our new goal for FY '25 at 2,270 riders, which is a roughly 6% increase. And hopefully we blow right past that with the new schedule change. So with that, I'll make the recommendation. We request the Trinity Metro Board of Directors adopt the proposed TexRail key performance indicators for FY 2025.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Reed.
Thank you.
You don't want to make them do 99%.
Wayne, please.
I'm always following you. So difficult. Okay, good afternoon, board members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a board action on page 118 of your board packet, BA 2025-15, and it's titled New Flyer, Inc. Purchase of Electric Battery Packs. Make a long story short, you heard about the Blue Line and all the wonderful things that are going to happen there. What we're doing here is taking the 4 earliest battery electric buses that we purchased back in 2019. They have Generation 1 batteries. Long story short, we need to change them out to increase the reliability of those vehicles. We're able to do so with this package here. It's 2 things are going to happen. Replace the battery packs and the packaging of those battery packs in the the oldest buses. And that will be for $187,000 per bus, $187,500, or totaling $750,000. And then next, those 4 buses had charge rails on them, just like the newer ones, but they're slightly in front of the bus versus where the other ones are. So we're going to move them so that we can use the quick charge station over Fort Worth Central Station. They'll all be in one place. Not that we couldn't today, but they'll all be in one place, meaning the charge bars, so a driver doesn't have to decide, ooh, am I in 1901 today and I need to park here, and I'm in 1904 tomorrow and I got to park there? That's too confusing, even for me. And we want to rectify that situation, which is what we're doing here. So the rail modifications is $60,000 per bus, or a total of $240,000. We're asking for you to, therefore, the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with New Flyer, Inc., NFI, for purchase of 4 battery pack upgrades and battery enclosures and charge rail relocation at a not to exceed amount of $990,000.
Hey, Wayne, would you call attention to the funding for this?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. The funding of this, we have a grant, or had a grant, and still have that grant of $1.2 million from NCT COG, so North Central Texas Council of Governments. That grant has to be utilized, and that's what we thought this was a great opportunity to upgrade the buses, increase the reliability of them, utilize our battery electric buses, which we're committed to clean air, and that's going to help us get this purchase through and taken care of.
So we've got a couple $100,000 more. What are we going to do with that?
Pay for the Blue Line.
Good question. So what we were able to do is there's the extra money left over, and we needed to paint the buses, and I was able to negotiate.
You may not make a motion.
I was able to negotiate a deal where the whole cost would fit within the $1.2 million grant funding opportunity. So that's what we're doing. And the bank is now.
What happens to the old batteries? We just throw them in the Trinity, right? Or
New Flyer is doing the replacement. They're doing everything with these buses out of their Dallas facility, and whatever they do with those batteries, I'm sure they're going to get recycled.
I don't know if but I mean, do they purchase these batteries from us? Is there any cost savings on giving them our old batteries? I don't know.
The original package, when it originally was quoted to me, was about $1.9 million-ish.
I love the cost savings.
And I negotiated down to $1.2 million.
You're the man.
And so I'll tell you another story in a second about something else. First,
Move to approve.
First, the board action.
Okay, BA 2025-15. Isaac, do we have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Just to answer your one question, I'll finish off and I'll walk off of here. You asked about the green buses. They're going to be used, right now, the thought is to be used as training buses.
Love it.
One more. Oh, uniforms.
Can you talk about
Oh,
uniforms?
uniforms. Well, it's very mundane. It was an RFP, but let me go do and officially do this. So then turn to your page 119. You'll see BA 2025-16, uniform floor mat and rag rental services. There was an RFP that was put forward by the procurement department. We had 2 vendors that bid on that, gave a response to proposal. There is no DBE in this process. They're national uniform companies. We have a recommendation. There are funds in the operating budget for 2025. There will be additional funds added to each fiscal year thereafter for the services that we are planning to provide our employees, the uniform services, basically. So therefore, Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorizes the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into a 5-year contract with Cintas. The proposed agreement costs $1,505,498.60 with a 10% contingency of $150,549.86 for a total amount not to exceed $1,656,048.46. Any questions on the rags and uniforms?
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second for approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
We'll have the president's report. That's you, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to use today, given that Thanksgiving is around the corner, as a time of reflection. Thanksgiving happens to be one of, if not the favorite, no, it is my favorite holiday of the year. There are no expectations other than, being with family, eating good food, and, no expectations of gift giving, but just the company of people hopefully you'll enjoy. And I say that with the
Go ahead. Sorry, Rich.
Motion to strike that from the minutes.
In all seriousness, I want to just acknowledge that Trinity Metro is successful because, first of all, I'm grateful for the people that I'm surrounded with here at Trinity Metro, starting with the board and the support that you give us. I talk to my colleagues around the country all the time, and I don't know of anyone that has the kind of support and proactive engagement that you all show Trinity Metro every day. At the leadership level at Trinity Metro, I'm surrounded by really extraordinary people who are at the top of their game, who come to work every day putting in more than just, it's more than a job, but a calling for each of them. And then surrounded by a team, an extended Trinity Metro team here that delivers outstanding service. It's not easy to do. The business of public transportation can seem fairly mundane and straightforward, but it's anything but. And then beyond Trinity Metro, we have extraordinary support in this community that seems to grow by the day. And I could start to name organizations like the Chambers of Commerce, the Visit Fort Worth, the Downtown Fort Worth Inc., folks at City Hall, starting with Mayor Matty Parker, the City Council. Really, everywhere you turn in this community, there's someone that's willing to not only take your call, but to ask how they can help, and then to go out and do the thing that you're asking them to support you on. That's a rare, extraordinarily rare thing to have. I guess I would say, as we reflect on the time of year and all that we have to be grateful for, I would say that I've never been more optimistic. Although, I have my moments, the team will tell you about, always being realistic about the challenges that we face. I've never been more optimistic about the future for this organization. And I think, we have never arguably been better positioned than we are today for that big, bold future that we want. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Words of wisdom, and from the chairman's message was going to be along the same lines. We have in our community the schools, which we've read have certain problems, and we've tried to bring people together to solve those problems. But for years, we've had issues with people being understanding and recognize the importance of transit. And I think Rich summarized beautifully how all have risen to the top, both education and transit. They're rising to the top in people's conversations. And that's a huge issue. And I've talked before, and I'm going to use the word again, and we're talking about all the gifts we have, all the great staff we have, and all the day-to-day operators, fabulous, lightning in a bottle kinds of things. But I used the adjective before, relentless. We've got to be relentless from here on out, because we can't lose the momentum. We're doing everything we can with the dollars we have. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And everybody is committed to our goals. But if we're not out there talking to our neighbors one-on-one, if we're not learning more about transit as a board, if we're not chatting it up, talking to everybody you can, if the conductors aren't talking to everybody and being helpful, we won't succeed. So all I'm going to suggest to you is that we can reach these goals. I'm as optimistic as Rich is, but we can't stop now. We've got to be relentless. And the journey's just beginning, because we don't have the funding to do a lot of these things. It's just beginning. And so we've got to keep building that support. If we don't build that support, we're going to level off our goals. We won't be able to achieve them because we won't have the money anymore. So essentially, it revolves around getting more money. Rebecca, that's you. But no, it revolves around the business community too. So I want to echo what Rich said about Thanksgiving. I don't care about, I do, Christmas is a wonderful time. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not good at the gift thing. So I'm thankful for everybody that is with us today in this meeting, the board, everybody out there, the senior staff, the staff, and the people that are day to day. It's a big deal to be part of this organization, but we can't stop. We've got to be relentless. So let's think about what that means for each of us and talking. And I think we've started a conversation. I really think so. So let's put that as our top of mind for 2025. Continue to be relentless. So thank you all, and we'll go into an executive session. Really?
I have your pen.
The amount of marriage couples in here.
Where's Chad? Found Chad absent.
The executive session
That is not committed.
Oh, there's Chad.
Not committed.
called under the Texas Open Meetings Act for the consultation with its attorney pursuant to Section 551.071, deliberation regarding real property, pursuant to Section 551.072, deliberation regarding prospective gift pursuant to Section 551.073, deliberation regarding personnel matters pursuant to Section 551.074, deliberation regarding security devices pursuant to Section 551.076, and/or deliberations regarding economic development negotiation pursuant to Section 551.087, all of which I'm required to read. As ended. Now we're in open session. How's that, Joel? We have one item remaining. There's no action taken on real property, item number 1. We have an action item, BA 2025-11. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Did I lose it?
Say the magic words.
There you go.
Yeah, he hasn't said the words yet.
We adjourned yet?
We're adjourned. Welcome to business.